Alright, this is Head Coach Ross of the Attacks Gym, Street Warrior, and Gia Uhuru. We're going to jump right into the Commander-in-Chief discussion that happened last night between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And we're going to analyze Hillary Clinton's part of the speech. Now, I want you to know that I'm an objective analyzer. I don't favor either candidate right away. I analyze what each of them have to say, and then I make my decision accordingly. I actually crack books and read them. You know those books that you guys ignore, which you should be reading. You know, I actually crack books and read them and discover things that doesn't have a .com behind it. But since most of you don't do that, when I do cite sources, I'll include as many .coms as I possibly can to spare you the agony of actually doing some actual research and checking out some books. So, okay, let's jump right into it with Clinton's part. We're going to go with Clinton because she lost the coin toss with Trump, and Trump elected to go second. This gives Trump the tactical advantage of being able to rebut things that Clinton just stated about him, because you know, despite whatever rules there are, they're going to find some ways to throw some jabs at each other and sling some mud at each other. Now, you will have to determine by watching Trump's speech on your own if, in your opinion, Trump successfully rebutted the allegations and the accusations, etc., so on and so forth, that Clinton slung in his direction. In my opinion, he did not do that. But we are going to go into some of the critical aspects surrounding Clinton's responses and things that, you know, have made it into the news, in which 103 of you emailed me about. Oh, I have my notebook here. Yes, I write notes. You should try it. You know, I was just got finished having discussions or what have you, and I write down a lot of notes because many of the pieces of information that I have, which is automatic to me, is not so well known among the general populace, because I'm an expert in many areas of discipline. I'm a multidisciplinary expert. I've been doing this for most of my life, so I have lots of information that I just recall right off the top of my head, and I utilize, you know, on a moment by moment basis, that apparently quite a few of you out here watching me and subscribing to me don't know about or don't have access to. Speaking of subscribing, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. That's how we pay our bills. Please share it on Facebook. Please share it on Google+, whatever your social media is. That's how we pay our bills. Please go to my website on Attacks Gym, Street Warrior, Capoeira, googlesites.com. Buy some of the products we have there. You know, that's some of you calling me right now. I just got a call from Brazil about 10 minutes ago. Actually, as I'm speaking to you right now, recording this right here, you know, I actually have my cousin and assistant coach, Phil, on the phone. So it's funny, he just got finished leaving about 20 minutes ago when we were discussing this issue, these politics surrounding Clinton and Trump. So hopefully, you know, he'll be able to chime in, you know, whenever he wishes to, if he wishes to, as I continue this video to you guys in response to the 103 emails I had about this particular matter. Okay, back on Clinton's case. We're about to jump on her head right now. Okay, first, before I jump on her head, I want to give the moderator for this MSNBC forum, his name was Matt Lauer. I want to give him credit for the excellent job he did. He largely reined in these powerful big mouth personalities, Clinton and Trump. And I also like how MSNBC set this particular program, in that they allowed the military crowd themselves, who are mostly Republican, to pose questions directly to each of the prospective candidates, each of the prospective presidents. So I have to give them a lot of credit for that. And as I'm speaking to you from time to time, I will refer to my notes. Okay, that's how I do things. If you don't like me referring to my notes, you basically suck. You don't do your own research. Most of you like it. I've got most of your responses. A little over 98% of you said this is great stuff. So I'm going to keep that format because you suggested I keep it that way. All right. Now we're going to go with the fact checks, you know, factcheck.com and various other areas. So I'm letting you know my resources. I'm citing my sources right now about where I went to check on the various allegations for and against Hillary Clinton. The most prominent question that Hillary Clinton had to deal with that Matt Lauer swung to her, first question too, was he asked, what is the number one characteristic, what is the number one character quality that the president should have? And immediately, with practically no pause at all, Hillary Clinton responded by saying, sound judgment and an absolute rock steadiness. Okay? So, since that's her number one get down, we're going to go ahead and see if Hillary herself, shows this rock steadiness and this sound judgment. And we're going to do this by reviewing the primary accusations that's been leveled against her, okay? The first one is the whole email, the whole email allegations, like Emailgate, okay? And Hillary's response to that is that, and I'm going to paraphrase a bit from my notes here, Hillary basically said that she made a mistake. She owned up to it. She was using a private server for government correspondence, but she did not use, send, or receive sensitive information via this private server. She clearly pointed out, and none of the mostly Republican military personnel in the audience who handle sensitive info, because there's quite a few of them who dealt with top secret information that were actually in the audience asking her questions. None of them denied her point in this regard, okay, that close hold information, email or written, has on its header at the top large capitalized letters that say things like top secret, secret, confidential, and the like. She says that none of this information, none of the emails that she dealt with or the conversations that she had included that header. And she was right. According to the Republican who is the director of the FBI and who closely analyzed all of this information, well over 15,000 emails, something in the neighborhood of 30,000 emails or more, she's correct. None of that information, none of the issues that could violate national security or compromise national security did she handle on her private server. So that pretty much guts the entirety of the Republicans' argument insofar as whether or not it has any real teeth behind it. So did she suck and say, hey, you know what, I used this email, in correspondence, what have you, and what is it less protected allegedly than the more government approved emails, etc., so on and so forth? Yes. Did she possibly compromise the national security? No. So that's pretty much the long and the short of that. And she wasn't the only outstanding American official who done such a thing. Colin Powell, the former Joint Chief of Staff and the former Secretary of State with Bush, did the same thing. And he gave her some advice as to how to do such a thing without dealing with the bureaucratic BS and protocol that actually make things difficult to make the proper execution of governmental duties and policies difficult, and without compromising national security. And she followed some of his advice in that regard. Okay, so basically that has no teeth to it. You can check that on factcheck.com, PolitiFact, and various other places. There's no factual truth to any allegation that Hillary Clinton violated national security or by transmitting sensitive documents and information on her email, and she was not in any way derelict in her duty insofar as national security is concerned. Was that not the best of idea? No, it wasn't the best idea, and she owned up to it. So you have to make up your own mind to see if that's significant or not. But basically, after all those analysis, even the FBI discovered that there were only 30 emails that dealt with Benghazi or any other issue that even remotely approaches national security concerns And of those 30, most of them were replicates, copies of previous publicly known information, and one was a compliment sent to her by the American Democrat, not Democrat, American diplomat from Brazil. So basically there was nothing there of any real concern or substance. And that's just the Republicans wasting our time and money again. Okay, so yeah, Hillary was rock steady in that one. Another charge against Hillary is that she volunteered to defend a rapist who raped a 12-year-old girl, and who was found, and due to her efforts, this rapist was found not guilty, and then she laughed about the whole thing in an interview in 1980. Now, factcheck.com says that the truth is that in 1975, 41 years ago, Hillary defended an accused rapist, and she did not volunteer to defend this person. The accused, as a result of her diligence, wound up pleading to a lesser offense. Now, CNN followed this up on June 25th, 2014, and further exposed that Clinton was contacted by Malin Gibson, or Malan Gibson, depending on how you pronounce it. It looks like it's Malin to me. Malin Gibson is a Washington County prosecutor. And Mr. Gibson stated that Clinton absolutely did not want to defend the accused rapist, but the judge in this case would not excuse her from the case. Now, the reason why Mr. Gibson knows is because he was, in fact, the prosecutor in this area during this time. He was closely involved with the case. So he knows what happens there. Okay? Now, the alleged rape victim, however, absolutely lambasts Clinton and calls her a liar top to bottom, insists that she was indeed raped, etc., so on and so forth. And we don't know if there's any validity to her accusation. There's not any evidence to make it very clear. Now, I'm not in any way slandering her or anyone else who makes that very, very serious charge. What I'm saying here is that based upon the evidence I've been able to uncover, I haven't seen any evidence that makes me believe that what she said actually happened. I don't disbelieve. I don't have any evidence to compel me toward her position. Okay? So I just want you to understand that. Now, is Hillary rock steady in this issue? In my opinion, there just isn't enough information for a clear-cut answer. So she would be in between when it comes to the whole issue of whether or not she displayed rock steady characteristics in the handling of the alleged rape case. But we do know for a fact she did not volunteer to defend this person. So that's a false accusation that the Republicans leveled at her. We do know for a fact that she did not laugh at the idea that she freed this person from any form of jail sentence. That's not what happened. She laughed at certain in an interview in 1980, about 5-6 years after the incident, after the case, she laughed at certain peculiarities of the case. She did not laugh at the victim. She did not laugh at the idea of possibly springing a man who possibly raped a 12-year-old girl. Both of whom, by the way, the victims, the rapist and the victim were both white. She didn't find any levity in any of that. That again is further Republican spin designed to try to find something where there really isn't anything. Okay? Now, overall, I'm leaning toward she's rock steady in this one because of the lack of evidence in one regard, meaning the accusations against her, and the relatively abundant amount of evidence defending her for most of those accusations. So, right now I'm saying in between, but I'm leaning toward rock steady. Okay? All right. Now, the third major issue that was raised, again, by our political opposition is that in 1996, during a speech as First Lady, while her husband was the president, Hillary Clinton used the phrase super predator, and right away, members of the left and the right, concluded that Hillary Clinton was talking about African American males and calling us criminals without a conscience who are super predators. Now, I actually went to Google and got my hands, relatively speaking, on the full transcript of this speech. And I'm reading from my note here. And Hillary absolutely did not accuse African American teens or African American anyone else of anything like being a super predator. However, the implication of a phrase was there. And conservatives pounced on the quote to promote their conservative agendas. Now, is Hillary rock solid here? Yes, she is. She can't be blamed for what other people will take from their implications from her phrases. Especially when the body of her work is either beneficial to or at least not detrimental to the majority of political minorities, not just people of color, but women and poor people and middle class people. The majority of her work is either beneficial to us or at least not detrimental to us. So I don't see any factual basis to conclude that she was just suddenly acidically, racist or in any way had a particularly unique venom aimed toward African American males who were members of gangs. Especially since her issues and her concerns really dealt with issues that were much more broader and deeper than that. And that little segment of her conversation, of her speech, her speech was over an hour long or so. That little segment barely took 5 minutes of it, barely. And that's being kind. Okay, now, after all, the conservatives twisted Martin Luther King's words, so they'll twist Hillary's words. Now, so to sum up, on the email security issue, all right, Clinton was probably hacked, according to the FBI director. But even then, there's no evidence that she compromised national security. Okay? Now, again, summing up, in 1975, Clinton did not volunteer to defend the 41-year-old white male whose name is Thomas Alfred Taylor, all right, who was accused of raping a white 12-year-old. Back in 74, 75, he was 41. At that time, she was 12. Okay? Thomas Taylor pled to a lesser charge. And amid charges that Clinton blocked evidence that could convict, the accused countered by documents detailing that Clinton went to an expert with said evidence. That evidence was the underwear of the accused. They were looking for DNA evidence or some form of other evidence linking the accused, Thomas Taylor, to any sexual act with the 12-year-old young lady, minor at that time, who subsequently came out as an adult. Now she's 54, I believe now. And the point is, the evidence that was presented at that time did not implicate this man in rape. Now, Clinton, based upon what I've been able to read, Clinton did believe this guy was lying. She believed this guy was lying. Even though he passed a polygraph test, she believed that this guy was lying. But she did not necessarily believe he was lying about the rape. He might have been lying about the details leading up to things. He was trying to make himself as completely, disinvolved with the situation as possible. He didn't want to admit to anything. If he could avoid admitting that he was even in the same state as the girl was, he'd say that. Okay? So he was probably lying about the other stuff, but it's pretty clear based upon the evidence that they've been able to acquire, including the evidence acquired by the prosecution, which they were trying to hide from Hillary, that rape is difficult. It's more than difficult to conclude that he did such a thing. He probably did not do that based upon that evidence. I wasn't there. You weren't there. Hillary wasn't there. None of the Republicans were there. Only Thomas and the young woman were there. So they're the only ones, them and the creator, who really know what happened. Okay? So based upon the evidence, we've been able to reconstruct 41 years after the fact. All right? There's no reason to conclude that, hey, she was extra salty and she was in any way backwards or sideways about what she did and what she said. All right. So, in most of the issues that the Republicans brought and charges they brought against her, she has been rock steady. She displayed the number one characteristic that she said that a president should display: rock steady character, sound judgment. That's pretty much what she's done insofar as these accusations are concerned. These are facts that you can check. It's not just my opinion. So check. Go ahead and fact check everything I said. If you agree with me, leave it at the end of this video in the comment section. If you disagree, put it in the comment section. But make certain that you spit facts, because if you do not, I will jump on you for it. All right? And read a book. All right? Okay. Head Coach Ross for the Attacks Gym, Street Warrior, Njia Uhuru. You take care of yourself. You have a wonderful day. Asante sana. Ashe.